subjects, yeah, go disrupt you with mine tonight. Trending topics in the spotlight, breaking down what's right.
Hey, welcome back to Echo Disrupted, episode 5.
Episode 5.
Here we
We,
are.
we made it.
Yes,
We're official now.
we're reunited.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been so much happening since we last got together. Let's start talking about politics, where we are in terms of the campaign and what have you. By all means, ladies first, you can start the show.
Yes, there's been so much that's happened from the VP debates, which, to be painfully honest, I didn't tap into.
Same here. Same
I
here.
think after I might have saw like maybe the first 3 to 4 minutes, and Waltz was like getting me a little scared, but I also was sleepy. Sleep took over, and then I just caught the recaps.
You know what's so interesting about that? I didn't watch it either. I sometimes watch debates. I watch the important ones. But it's how these candidates are now being engaged. You have one candidate saying, I thought you weren't fact checking, and essentially lying through the entire debate. And the other candidate starts off slow and is a little bit more careful with what he's saying, and he's viewed as the loser. The guy who's more pensive and thoughtful and chooses his words carefully is the one that is viewed as the one that didn't win versus the guy who came out and lied throughout the entire debate. When did America become that?
That's the arrogance of, I think, that what's happening now. And like why we came up with the title Echo Disrupted, right? Because everyone is in their own echo chamber. You hear what you want to hear. People are crowdsourcing around your antics and what you believe. So you don't know that anything else is happening outside of here, and you don't care to find out. A fact doesn't mean anything
Anymore.
And
You're
it just
right.
means that you are coming up and you getting in my way. That's it, period.
We are literally living in a bizarre world, right? At this point, being well-read and having a decent grasp of world events almost works against you, right? Because if I can just make stuff up on the fly, right? And we go into this debate where you're saying one of the prerequisites is I won't be fact checked. At this point, I could just basically come out here and say, yeah, at one point as a teenager, I ran 3 miles on the moon without any equipment. We are slowly creeping towards that, right?
Okay.
Where you go to the top of the ticket where Donald Trump lies about everything happening, right? He lies about the way FEMA operates. He lies about the response that's coming from the White House. He lies about what the funds are being used for, and he's still a viable candidate.
Neck and neck.
Like, how is that even possible? To your point, being neck and neck, right? What are your thoughts on the polls?
I'm still one of those people. I don't trust them. And I get that's all the news has to go off of, right? Because how can you fill up 24/7 hours of people eyeballing and getting intense about it? One, because I don't know. I personally, this is wild too. I don't be picking up my phone for unknown numbers. But at the same time, I haven't gotten any calls with any unknown numbers. So I'm like, I'm a registered voter. Is anyone trying to reach out to me? I don't know. And no one has gotten a call. So I'm just curious as to who are they polling? And maybe do I fit the demographic that is just, hey, she's already going to vote for Kamala. She's a Black woman. So we don't need to check in with her. I don't know.
This time around, I've actually been reached out to.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they've reached out to me a couple of times, actually, which is interesting because I haven't in the past.
Okay, so that's interesting from the whole Black male voter perspective of what's
You know what? That
happening.
might be it. That might be it, right? And let's put a pin in that, the Black male voter thing. But what's interesting is the guys who actually do the granular studies and data mining of the polls, the demographics, essentially is saying, yeah, a lot of this is much ado about nothing, right? I've seen several different reports and different guys who are on TV and guys who are in the news, independent YouTube guys who, these aren't Yahoo guys who are just out here doing it right. They're like, listen, when you break this down, and this is something we've heard for years, Trump doesn't get above 47%. It stays at 47%, right? When you see Kamala break at above 50%, it says something. Also, the other component is that a lot of these new registers, they said in Pennsylvania, and Roland Martin just said this the other day, Black women registration in Pennsylvania went up by 248%.
Oh, wow.
So I was having a chat with one of my cousins, and he was saying, yeah, that's cool and everything, but how many people are actually coming out to vote? And he says, because by and large, America typically churns out about 60% in the presidential election. And he said, last I checked, he said, and 60% is considered exceptionally good. He said,
And that was like Obama's first.
by and large, the American electorate comes out at 60% and above in terms of eligible voters, which is why Republicans typically don't want you to vote, because they know the lower the numbers, if everybody showed up, they would lose every election. That's just the numbers. The point he made is Americans don't necessarily take this as serious as they should. Last I checked, getting 60% was a D. So essentially, we're failing every time and for every election. But if she can keep the enthusiasm up, she should be in pretty good shape. Regarding the Black male vote, Roland Martin, Terrence Belcher, a couple of other people, man, I forgot what the guy, Keith Boykin, another couple of people, listen, Raphael Warnock, another one. Yeah, those numbers are drastically overblown in terms of the Black male support for Trump. Don't get me wrong. There are people who are supporting him, and Roland Martin was like, he says, it ain't above 14%. And typically every year, anywhere from 80 to 95% of Black men support the Democratic ticket. It just is what it is. But Obama goes out and does his lecture thing. I wouldn't say lecture thing because anybody with any sense didn't view it as a lecture. Listen, maybe because he's preaching to the choir.
The hit dogs will holler type of thing.
That's really what it boils down to. And it's a sad testimony, honestly, where people are like, the way people are framing it, they're framing it improperly.
Like
I'm just saying, some of the people who are commenting, some of the people who are responding negatively to what Obama had to say. You got to understand something. Obama's a really smart person and a really intelligent, highly intelligent person. And a lot of people that are responding like that, not everybody, of course, but a lot of people that are responding in that way are anti-intellectuals, right? Obama's making an assessment, right? I'm looking at I know what Trump is. There's empirical data, verifiable events that says what Trump is. He's been antithetical and contemptuous towards Black people forever. None of his policies, as Obama has just laid out, none of the policies that he's engineered, the economy that you guys were excited about was my economy, right? Laying all of those things out, the only thing that you have left as to why you'd vote for him is simply based on the persona that he's created and that he is now out here perpetuating. If the son of slaves, or the son of civil rights workers, and the sons of the people who's laid their lives down in order to get us to this point have decided that they are going to side with somebody antithetical to those people, fuck them. I have no sympathy for them. I don't care nothing about them. I happen to think there's a lot of bitch-ass niggas running around here. I do. I think there's a lot of soft, weak niggas who don't have backbones, who should have grew up with daddies, who should have had more male figures in their lives, who are looking at the accomplishment of women, who've decided, okay, instead of pulling themselves up and doing what they need to do, they bitching and moaning, talking about, oh, I want the Democrat to develop policies centered on me. There's no policies that are going to fix your life because you wanted to be a rapper between the ages of 15 and 40. and opted to check out of educating yourself and becoming a productive member of society by attaining marketable skills. This is your fault, bro. At the end of the day, this is your fault. It's if you listen to all these different rap songs and from back in the days. Oh, I got a chick, I got a Sadiddy chick who's educated. She got a job in Wall Street. Blah blah blah. It's always the same thing. That chick is now well positioned to make moves. Homie, you now 40 years old trying to figure your life out and blaming a political party for your failures. I commend Obama for coming out here and taking the switch to y'all, because he shouldn't have had to. Yeah.
It was interesting. I don't know if you saw Wendell Pierce response, and I think he had Mondale Robinson as well. It was on Roland Martin show, and they were talking about it. And I guess
both of those guys were on Roland Martin.
So it's probably in one of the longer versions. But when the whole hubbub came out about it, I don't think I clipped Wendell Pierce's tweet about it. The long story short is that they were saying it's a way that you communicate to the Black man. For Obama, it came across right, chastising. That's right. Same way, don't boo, vote type of vibes. So they basically were saying that you have to come at the Black man in a different way, not so much like from a beat down from the top, but actually speak to them, like meet them where they are type of thing, but kind of address them in a different way. And I'm going to get the exact wording. And
I get it, but where the fuck are they? Right? This is so essentially, right? We are supposed to be the first line of defense, Black men, right? We are supposed to be the strong ones, the security, right? But you got to talk to us soft because we mushy and we don't want you to hurt our feelings. And we don't want you to speak firmly to us because we don't understand what is in our best interest. We need somebody to feed us like we're babies and put it in a soft spoon and wipe the corner of our mouth when they feed it to us. Is that what we're doing?
I'm going to get his exact quote here. But the way it's coming across is, if you really want to get someone to not pay attention to you, like speak to them like that, right? Apparently, I'm trying to get this because I should have had this up.
No worries. No worries.
Oh, wait, here it is. It says, awful message. The party has to stop scapegoating Black men. Black men aren't the problem. White men and white women are. No other group votes at 87 to 90% for Dems but Black folk, men and women. That is a false flag. Black men voting for Trump is insignificant. This is accusatorial. SAT. So it will make some Black men stay home, which is worse. Black men are questioning our party to find out what their loyalty for decades earns them. That's good. That's healthy. Democrats have the record to stand on and should embrace the challenge. But after touring this country, specifically engaging Black men, I will not let my party leaders speak condescending towards them.
How many educated brothers, how many brothers who understand, who can contextualize what the circumstances are, have taken that approach? Right? If you listen to what Obama said, he's saying, listen, when I was out here, y'all came out strong for me. I don't see that happening for Kamala, right? That's not taking shots at the people who were already in line. It's asking, okay, yo, we getting another shot at this. What are you doing? My problem is, why do we need to baby Black men? So the larger issue is when you have Black men who don't understand civics 101, who don't understand that a president isn't a king, who don't understand the difference between a mayor, a governor, a councilor, a local councilman, a state senator. We don't understand those things. That's the larger issue. So if at some point, I guess you can't speak firmly to people. You got to be nice to people who don't have the wherewithal to understand some of the most basics of how a country works. So you got to basically walk these people hand in hand and say, hey, nice sir, Could you please come vote because it's in your best interest? They're going to stay home. Okay, if I'm telling you you're going to choke, there's evidence out here that's saying you're going to choke if you don't breathe. And you say, oh, you yelled at me and you said it, I'm not going to breathe. Nigga, die then.
Right. Yeah, I think then it becomes not leaving this 14%, whatever that number of men is, pulling them in, as
I get
opposed
it.
to leaving them, I don't know, out in the wind, so to speak, doing push-ups in
get it.
the hurricane.
I get it. And I guess the larger issue as well is understanding specifically what us having an understanding of what each politician's position, what their roles are. We don't understand it, which is terrible. And I joke around about this, but I half mean it. Those of us that decided to forego our educations during our formative years, this is what you're seeing and you're listening to.
Mhm.
Niggas just
But
don't know. They don't know what they're supposed to be. They don't understand what this means.
I get it, and I guess that this becomes the whole argument of you engage them now and not get them to be couch involved versus really being involved, because there's other races that are happening outside of the presidency, down to your judges, all those things that will impact your daily life. Not to say that the president doesn't, but your immediate day to day, that you do need to have that line of communication open to try to get to them. It is what I'm getting from the next step past the presidents. It like literally,
Agreed.
we're gonna vote in like what, 3 weeks? So
Here's another point, right? We were just having this conversation in my household a few minutes ago. School boards, right? I just finished completing my mail-in ballot. We as a family make sure that we vote, right? Everybody holds each other accountable. You get your ballot, and all the ballots go out at the same time. And my daughter was talking about the school board. She's we got to make sure something is up for the position. They're asking, do you want the position to be permanent? Hell no, absolutely not. But that is a tricky one. That right there is a tricky one because the conservatives attack the school board. That's where they start. We as a people don't even, we as Black people don't take those things seriously at all. We don't go to PTA meetings, right? We don't go to school council meetings. We don't show up and don't understand you are sending a message to the larger powers, to the larger municipality that you're not engaged. So now when you aren't engaged at that level, they can just basically say, okay, we could start making a whole bunch of other moves. So when your taxes go up, right? Oh, I can't believe our taxes went up, but you weren't representative at school. When these ballot initiatives were happening, you were home chilling, right?
yeah, that's how Gary Chambers got on the map in Louisiana. So going in on yeah. So
It's a game that if you're not taking it seriously, you will lose, right? And this is what's happening to us. We are watching this continue to happen because we are asleep at the wheel. A lot of us live lives of revelry where we're just having fun. We're going from one weekend to the next weekend, eager to get to the club, and eager to go party.
paycheck to paycheck.
And then, so now all of this stuff is happening, right? These guys are strategic when they make their moves. And then when we find out about it later on, we point the finger left and center, and it was happening the whole time. You could have affected it. You just, for whatever reason, you chose not to. You chose not to get engaged. But
Yeah,
I
and
could
I
be on
think
my soapbox forever. I'm sorry.
yeah, and just the last point on that is you have to start gearing up for the villain, right? Who's going to get their finger pointed to if Kamala doesn't win and Trump wins, right? You got to start getting that narrative together. And I think that's also part of the not said out loud, but what the pushback is. Let's not get out here and start saying that that small percentage of Black men or Black voters, period, that could somehow be the reason why, say, Trump wins. So I think that's the other unsaid part of the conversation as well.
Finishing that point, and although we don't want to hear it, let's use Florida as an example, right? DeSantis is in office, and we know what the results of those are. because of how many Black eligible voters stayed home. DeSantis didn't win by a lot the first time around, and a lot of Black voters stayed home. I'm okay with the outcome so long as they keep their mouth shut when things start going wrong, because y'all staying home. The point that the people who point the finger at us when things go awry, I guess the point that they're making is you could have impacted this had you just shown up.
Especially if it's 10,000 votes or something like that, which will probably be a lot of the scenarios in some of the states as well.
At the end of the day, if I looked at the data, and again, to my cousin's point, right? He said Hunterdon County in New Jersey, every other county in New Jersey comes out about 30%, 34 to 40%, right? Hunterdon County, they vote 65%. Major white community, right? It's up north.
What's interesting too about New Jersey is that for the Green Party, their ticket, they have Green Party candidates all down the ticket. And that's not something that any other state could say for the Green Party. So I say that to say that people are engaged, even though the focus is on Michigan and Arizona and different places, but even some of the places that are sewn in to be like Democrat stronghold for them, it's going to be interesting to take a look at that and see if there is any impact from.
For those who don't know, they're essentially saying that the Green Party in Michigan said, we know we ain't gonna win, but the win for us is making sure that Kamala doesn't win. So let's deliver.
Like they're going to flip it green somehow.
This is what they're saying. What's the goal? At this point,
I know what the goal. I think I know what the goal is. The goal is to get 5% of the popular vote. So if you get 5%, and this is for any of these third parties, that's why I think that this is a low level grift that nobody really pays attention to. But you can get federal funds, and the estimate for 5% is $10 million. So that's to go to the Green Party, just say if they get 5%. It could go to the Libertarian Party if they get 5%. The idea is that you get that money and you're supposed to shore up your foundation in these different states so that you can be better positioned. But who knows what happens with the money? But there is money. So I think that's the goal of a lot of the parties, the other party, so to speak. And what they develop into, I think the Green is probably one of the more developed of the parties, but I think Libertarian too is also one. But I think that's like, I'm going to call it a grift, but it is in the grift category.
Call it a grift. Like, so in hearing them say, our goal is to keep the vice president out of the White House, the alternative is what? So the alternative is Trump. So essentially you're trying to help Trump win, right? So
I think it's the single issue vote, right? Because for them, one of the major issues is the whole Palestinian situation right now, right, in Gaza. So they're saying that if you're voting for Kamala, you're basically voting for Biden again, right? Because she's basically going to do the same thing that Biden is doing, which is siding with Israel, so to speak. I think if that's your one issue that you're really is a genocide and that's what your main voting issue is, then that's why they're saying that. And the people that are, it's a movement against Kamala too. I forgot the name of it.
A whole movement.
There's I'm not naming it right. It's like a not Kamala, but there is a no Kamala, and that is out of Michigan. That is one of that whole movement is out of Michigan. I can't remember the name of it, but it's something like no Kamala or anti-Kamala or something like that. So there is a movement, and I think the movement is folks that are more along the lines of that this is a genocide. And
so what do you think happens? What is this? What do they think happens when Trump gets in?
That's just it, right? And I think when you mentioned Mehdi, he's been out here windmilling hard because a lot people aren't understand because he's a Muslim, right? And he's been standing up for things, and I think he just has something with Brianna Joy Gray.
Yeah. They went back and forth on social media.
Yeah. The very long story short is that he is like, look, he understands that it's a genocide, but he also sees that what exactly happens if what are you gonna do, Green Party, if you win? What's gonna happen? Or if they vote for you, but Kamala or Trump wins, what do you think is gonna happen? Like this stance, is it like true grandstanding or looking at it logically? What exactly do you expect to happen? You place your vote or donate to the Green Party this go around. So I think Brianna's stance is it's like a burn it down. Yeah.
Accelerate.
Yeah, it's an accelerated approach, which is my interpretation of it is we just need to let this stuff burn down. I don't care what happens. So if you burn it down, so to speak, then things can start to go in the direction that it needs to go, right? And for them, it needs
Where is it that's going to happen? Supposedly educated and well thought out people say some of the dumbest foolishness.
right. So that's the crux of that back and forth. That's the role. And I think the problem that's happening within the third party space, and I'm just saying anyone that is independent, Green Party, Socialist Party, whatever, that is what's happening is that if you don't believe in genocide, you don't stand by it, then why are you voting for the Democratic ticket? And what makes you think that it's going to be any different? Again, like how many times have we been voting the lesser of two evils? So now this stance, you take a stance now while you have this gravitation of young college kids and a movement that's developing. Use this now as a vehicle to catapult and get this issue out there. So at least either because I know it was talk about a ceasefire. It was talk about options that were on the table. Also, just not giving them any weapons. But I think I just saw something come through that totally moots that whole point because I think I just got an alert that said that they are giving, the Washington Post, the U.S. will send an anti-missile system and personnel to Israel to counter potential attacks from Iran, the Pentagon says. That's a whole other topic, but that's like the crux of the argument within that third party space is just either you gonna, if you go with them, you just co-signing the same things to happen, or do you take a stand now and try to keep pushing? There's always going to be that, right? It's always going to be do you take a stand? When do you take a stand? And when do you stand firm? To me, with my personal opinion, yeah, I understand all of that too. I also understand how we didn't necessarily need to be in a pandemic because of having Trump in office and just the sheer idiot like moves that he makes and who he surrounds himself with. And he is off the self. There is nothing that is involved with him that cares about any one of us as individuals that live on this earth and try to make ends meet and work every day and try to just have some semblance of life. We all live through different sorts of hell based off of his incompetence. I'm on a soapbox.
Hey,
So for me,
stand firm on your soapbox.
yeah. So for me, it's not issue of, oh, I'm taking a stand now because my personal things are more like we can't have him. Period. Because we may not get through the next one.
There you
Or
go.
we'll be in World War III because we came close when he was in office with Iran. So that's a whole other topic. It was, wait, not only is it a pandemic, now we're going to be in like World War III. This dude had us on edge. And I think everybody's outside. Nobody is even remembering all of this stuff anymore. So I'm like, yeah, no, that was not too far in the rear view, too far back in the rear view.
I agree wholeheartedly with everything you just said. I think at this point, it just becomes posturing as far as the Green Party is concerned. Theoretically, it sounds really cool. Oh, yeah, we should have a third party. But there's no developed candidates, viable candidates, had anybody's best interest at heart to would be able to deliver on any of the promises they made. 3, there's no infrastructure in place for them, right? I remember when people were complaining about what happened with Bernie versus Hillary and trying to explain to people, Bernie's an independent. They took care of their candidate. Hillary's a Democrat. DNC took care of theirs. You can't be an independent and saying, okay, I'm expecting the same level of support from the Democrats that their candidate would get. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Mm.
It becomes a matter of practicality. Sometimes we don't look at things for what they are. It just is what it is. And if you're going to put a candidate in place that has been developed and has their marching orders and this infrastructure in place to accommodate those marching orders, now we're having a conversation, right?
Mhm.
Hypothetically, Jill Stein wins. What happens? Who is going to back her? Who is going to do her bidding?
Mhm.
The whole system's upside down now. Let's just
Mhm.
hypothetically.
Right. Like, yeah, whatever that transition looks like, that would still happen, right? From Biden to the new
course,
president.
course, right.
But I understand what you're saying. And that, again, is what the argument is, right? What are you doing with said monies that you receive to get your base going? That's why I think the working families is going to be interesting to look at, because they've aligned themselves with the Democratic Party. So now when they splinter off, there'll be some sort of structure. If I'm interpreting what you're saying correctly, a way to not have some sort of bipartisan, tripartisan, whatever type of thing, because these are them same old fucks that have been in there and they like 89, 95, 102, and they still holding on by one breath, but they're still in office. And then the people that came up behind them that are still in that same process. And I have feelings about certain people and their movements, because I don't know if I was saying it to you, but I was just like, yeah, okay, so I see Barack. Where's and I saw Magic Johnson.
Magic was out there last week.
No, I know.
So you're right. When I saw his face, I was like, what side of the ledger is he on?
He was just like, wait, who? What is it? Harris?
If he's smart, he ain't. Like Magic.
No, he was on the Black Men. He was on the Black Men talk.
No, what I'm saying is Magic can't come out on Trump's side of the ledger. To just you would have just destroyed 40 years of a reputation. Because yeah, you might catch some of the hooligans and the non-readers and the anti-intellectuals, but you're gonna lose a lot of credibility, especially in Detroit. And I guess the point I was really making, and you got to the gist of it, there's no infrastructure in place today to accommodate a third party. And to the larger point you made about, okay, what are you guys doing when you get this money? What does this look like? Between presidential elections, where's the coalition building? Where's the candidate development? Is it just you two? And it's typically Joe Stein and some black dude that, don't disrespect, intended. But look like, like he's been institutionalized, and he always wear a dashiki. I'm like, how many dashiki brothers do you know, Joe Stein?
He's interesting. I'm definitely squinty-eyed looking at him, because he's been clapping back a lot, like real sassy in the social media streets. And he also announced like he's trying to run for governor of California.
Okay, see, again, right? How we take these people seriously. Honestly, though, right? Trump came in, and now everybody is basically saying, yo, I could get on. Why not? You look at this dude. What's his name? Robert Kraft said it the other day. He said it's like your drunk frat brother got elected for president, right? And he said, I couldn't believe it. But again, we are now in this stage where everybody can get on.
And I guess too, when it comes to us being in these final 3 weeks leading up to the actual election, now I think we'll start to see a whole bunch of folks come out of the woodwork to support, because that was the strategic campaign approach for Harris Walls as well. Let's start to do these media blitzes, and with all the smoke, the View, Howard Stern. Okay. Yeah. And apparently she's going to be on Roland Martin as well.
That's a great move for the both of them. He's going to treat her right. He's not going to baby. We're going to have a black conversation. And yeah, it might get a little tough, but it'll be with love, right? Kamala Harris is in a strange position. This is a similar position Al Gore was in. What happened?
No, I just thought about all the smoke when they were like, "How did you meet Doug?" Sorry.
Steven Jackson was funny in that one.
Anyway,
But I think it'll lend a little bit of credibility, but there's another aspect of it. It was asking, so what I think might have been on CNN or Jason or MSNBC, they were asking, there's this media blitz, is how does this media blitz help her get the blue collared guy in middle America in the swing states? And one of the white guys said, she's not going to get that guy. And this is, to me, why focus on that? At the end of the day, these crackers are shooting themselves in the feet, right?
or shooting at her office, her campaign office in
Oh, that
Tempe.
too.
I'm sorry.
The Biden administration helped the unions twice that we can see. Trump has come out and said he's anti-union in every way that he can say it. Was palling around with Elon about saying, oh, you fired those people, so on and so forth. And the unions are still backing Trump, right? You're not getting them people, right? Because at the end of the day, this is where I will give these white dudes their props. They are on code, right? We don't care whether this is going to hurt us or not. We vote for the white dude, which is, again, what sets me off about the dumb nigger. What exactly is what are you excited about? We know what they're doing, right? We know what type of time they on. They're disciplined. What exactly is it in it for you other than you feeling sent? I can't even say being centered because they ain't centering you. One of y'all showed up at their rally and they beat the crap out of it.
Oh,
And the cops ran up and the cops grabbed him up. If that ain't symbolic, what is? I agree. And I guess we can close it down with that one.
there's a lot going on. We're in the home stretch for the election.
I would love to say can't wait, but I can't wait for it to be over. Looking forward to the next one.
Absolutely. Take care.